Here is the first question. Okay, I've been asked to factorize this, but I've already got brackets, which is confusing. So what I need to do is first get rid of my brackets. So let's just leave the 4a. This is multiplying, so I've got another 4a. And then this multiplies over here to give me negative 20, and I've still got my plus 60. Now you can see I've got numbers that belong together and letters that belong together. So let's collect all our like terms. So altogether I have 8a and I have 40. So now what I need to do is decide what I can take out of this as a common factor. Well, hopefully you can see they both have 8 in common. So I'm left with a plus 5. So if you ever see something like this, expand the brackets first, collect your like terms, then refactorize. All right, I'm going to pause and we'll do another one. For this one, I've been asked to get x by itself. So I have to rearrange this equation to make x the subject. Now, I'm sure you can see the problem is that there are two x's and they're on different sides of the equal sign. So the first thing I'm going to do is put them together. So I'm going to leave 3x and I'm going to bring this one across. So I'm going to subtract wx from this side. Then on this side, I'm left with negative e. Don't forget about the sign. And then minus 10 becomes plus 10 over this side. So now that I have my x's together, I'm going to take x out as a common factor. So I'm going to divide both of these terms by x. So I'm left with 3 when I divide out the x, and I'm left with minus w when I divide out the x. Now, this is just the opposite of distributing. So if I multiplied, x by 3 and x by negative w, I'd go back to this. So I'm just doing the opposite of, when we expand our brackets. I'm factorizing, which is dividing. So then I still haven't done anything over here. I have minus e plus 10. Now, as you can tell, this is multiplying the brackets. So I'm going to move it by dividing it. So I've got negative e plus 10, and I'm going to divide all of that by this. So I've got 3 minus w on the bottom. And now x is all by itself. Now, if you did this and all your signs were different, that's fine, because what it means is that you did it on the other side. So let me just show you. So if we start exactly the same way, but we solve it on the other side, we'll just have different signs, but it will still work. So I'm going to leave negative 10 over here, and I'm going to add e over here. I'm going to leave wx over here, but I'm going to subtract 3x. Now, hopefully you can tell already, all of these signs are just the flipped versions of our second line over here. So it makes sense that everything is just going to be backwards in terms of its signs. So I haven't done anything here. Again, I'm taking out x as my common factor. So I'm left with w when I divide that by x, and I'm left with minus 3. Again, it's just that the signs are different. Now I'm going to bring this across to this side and divide, because like we said, this is multiplying. W minus 3 is x. So you can see that both of these are acceptable answers, but all the signs are backwards. Either way is completely okay. For this question here, I'm being asked to get c by itself. So I'm going to leave c where it is, and I'm going to have 6w plus 5, and then I'm going to subtract 7. So then c squared is going to be 6w minus 2. Now I have to get rid of this squared. So the opposite of squaring is obviously a square root. But remember, we have to take both the positive and the negative of this square root. Because if I have, let's start with 3. If I have 3 squared, I get 9. And if I have negative 3 squared, I also have 9. You can't tell whether it used to be positive or negative. So when you reverse the square by taking the square root, you have to assume that it could be either of these. So this is the correct answer. Now, this is the question that everybody struggled with. So question 5C. Obviously, on the page, it looks slightly different than this, but that's just because of computer formatting, but this is what it means. I was square rooting, and the brackets showed you what to take the square root of, right? And then the 4 was outside of the brackets, so it does not belong under the square root. All right, let's have a go at this one. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this 4. So let's subtract 4 over here. And I've got m squared minus x squared. All right, now we need to undo this square root. So just a reminder, you can't just square first and last terms. I have to square the entire thing. Remember, this really means r minus 4 times r minus 4. And then you have to do your FOIL expansion. So you'd have r squared minus 8r plus 16. Now, you don't actually have to do this, so I'm going to get rid of that. You can just leave it like this. This is not wrong. It's just unnecessary. You don't need to expand these brackets. So let's just get rid of all of that. All right, we're going to leave it just like that, which means we now have m squared minus x squared. All right, we're trying to get x by itself. We should have specified that. So now I need to get rid of this m squared. So, oh, geez, I'm writing m. So this is r minus 4 all squared. I'm going to subtract m squared, and be careful because you're left with negative x squared over here. Now I need to get rid of this negative before I do anything else, which is like dividing everything by -1. Well, it's not like dividing it. It is dividing everything by -1. So that means all my signs are going to change. So the sign of this is going to change and the sign of this. So I'm just going to rewrite it because it's a bit easier to rewrite it this way. If you really wanted to, you could have written it, whoops, you could have written it like this. If you wanted to, that is also correct. I'm just rewriting it like this because it's a little bit clearer to see. And now I need to get rid of this square. So now I'm going to say m squared minus r minus 4 squared is x. And I'm going to take the square root of all of this, and it's going to be both positive and negative. So that's a pretty tricky question, but this is what it should have looked like. If you did expand your brackets, you would have had m squared minus r squared plus 8r minus 16. And if you didn't have that, it means you messed up your signs a bit, because it should be this, right? The minus the expansion of this, which means the negative then changes all the signs, which is why it looks like that. But you didn't need to do any of this. It's just not wrong if you did. This is the answer I had, and that is what you should have had. Okay, so for this one, I have the formula that C equals 5/9 F minus 32. So I'm going to do 6b where I'm given Celsius, not Fahrenheit, because the first one's easy. So I'm told that Celsius is 32. 5/9 F minus 32. So what I need to do is bring this across and divide, because that's multiplying. So I'm going to divide by 5/9, and that's going to, oh, don't need those brackets anymore, do I? Equals F minus 32. Now, we don't divide fractions. That's complicated and insane. So we flip and multiply. Remember that? Flip this upside down and multiply instead. So then I have 32 times 9/5 plus 32 equals Fahrenheit. And if you type all of that into a calculator, you're going to get 89.6 degrees. All right. Let's do another one. We looked at one of these today, and the thing is, at the moment, the bases don't match. We need these bases to match before we can do anything here. So I'm just going to rewrite this, and I'm going to rewrite 9 as 3 to the power of something. Hopefully you can tell that 3 squared is 9. So once the bases match, I can just ignore them and say that the powers are equal to each other. So 2x minus 6 is equal to 2, because these two numbers must equal each other. This is 9, so this must be 9. All right, so then we've got 2x equals 2 plus 6. Then we've got x equals 8 divided by 2. So x is 4. And if you wanted to make sure you got it right, you could put it back in. So 2 times 4 is 8. 8 minus 6 is 2. 3 squared is 9. Look at that, it works. Last question, they gave us the formula for the area of a circle. They've told us what the area is, and they want to know the radius. So let's just stick in the information that we know. So I need to get r by itself, so I'm going to divide by pi is r squared, and then I'm going to take the square root of this. Now, some of you may have noticed I'm not going to take the positive and the negative square root, because if we're talking about a radius, you can't have a negative radius. That doesn't make sense. So practically speaking, I only need to worry about the positive square root of this. So just try and think about the context of the question about whether or not you need to put a plus or a minus. If you're talking about distance or time or weight or something practical, the negative one doesn't really make sense. So if you type all that into a calculator, you get 4.92 centimeters is the radius of this circle. All right, please do watch that again if you need to, or come see me if you've got more questions.